Thank you for giving me this opportunity to once again to an international arena and especially on the UNESCO to talk about this problem of the global level of toxic pollution. In fact, we may really be able to say that one of the most important parts of the planet that is under toxic pressure are wetlands. And they are very important because of many, many other aspects, and especially about the ecosystem services that they provide. And now all ecosystem services are decreasing, and wetlands are getting dried in many parts of the world, especially where I am living in Iran and that Middle Eastern area, and under water, water scarcity and pressure really, and they are really drying and making the big problem of dust. Wetlands, I'm not going to go so much through this, profits that wetlands make for the people and for the planet, for all our living organisms. They are really kidneys of the planet. They provide many services. But later I'm going to point to a message that I had about 10 years ago, my first message about how pesticides are treated in developing countries. I lived about 20 years in fact, we started the University of Mazandaran by the Caspian, where paddy rice system is. And it was there that I observed lots of pesticide and fertilizer pressure really on this paddy rice system. Every day spraying different type of pesticides, and as you may be aware now in these years is not only pesticides. Pesticides are getting a part of the problem. There are now really millions of different chemicals, endocrine disruptors, PCBs, and that, different dioxins, and many of them are groups of chemicals. And their metabolites, when they break, and the possibility of synergism, they get synergize each other. One compound comes, get to bound to the enzyme of the system of the human or frogs or snakes and the other compound and make their effect. So this is synergism that we studied very, very deeply during my PhD many years ago. Synergism is very important. These are paddy rice that they are all over the Asian countries. We are going to talk more about the Asian countries and the problem. So these wetlands in Asian countries are under real pressure because of this paddy rice, and also those ones that are near the cities getting lots of toxic from cities. And they are birds, these are birds that are under big threat because wetlands are closely and directly related to the birds. And they die. It's a real problem. We have to accept it that we are facing with that. And there are now some companies that they don't corporations, they do not think about this. This is the one of the angel of the earth, Rachel Carson, that made, there was nothing like environmentalism that time, 60 years ago. And it was toxic threat to fish and bird that brought everything about environmentalism. And every aspect of our lives today is about environmentalism, if you look. In all nations, we are all thinking about the environment. There was nothing before that. Still, POPs, persistent organic pollutants, are around, lots of them, and they are making problem. The thing that we discovered when I was working in the lab before my retirement, it's an eggshell thickness. The calcium deposition cannot be continued anymore. When toxic problems come, and they bioaccumulate and they biomagnificate, so the eggs cannot, change to chicks. And then that's what happened. Today, this picture that you see here, this is Zayandurud. Perhaps you heard about that, in the beautiful city of Isfahan, ancient city of Iran. It was some years dry, totally dry. Now they are trying to bring some water, and they are trying to bring some tourists little by little more to see that. But you see, the dust problem all over the Persian Gulf here, it's a big problem. Last year I was there. In fact, I have a project later I point to that about in the south of Iran. People are there dying really, and it is toxic dust. I'm gonna do a research on that, because we have heavy metals and different toxics in this dust. And it is because of the dryness of the wetlands that you see. This picture is from one of my other presentations. The wetlands get dry. This is between Iraq and Iran. It was a big wetland and disappearing little by little. And as you see, where I was doing my PhD in Guelph, Ontario, we observed that some birds drop and die. Later, we realized in the lab that they collect enough toxic and sequestrate. They just encapsulate them in the body. When they do 1,000 kilometers fly from Florida, come back, then that toxic, sequestrated toxic, different type of pesticide and that goes to the blood and the bird dies. It's some years that I have another message. Are we really getting any more speciation? Do we have speciation is about how different creatures like insects, they were only thousands pre-Cambrian era, but now they are 3 million. But it seems that we do not having any more speciation. It was my theory, in fact. And so it may be stopped. And in fact, we have the 6th round of extinction, as they say it, in this, after turning the century and in 2015, we are getting the 6th round of extinction of the whole life. And I'm gonna now, because I'm a pesticide toxicologist, but fortunately, as of my starting of my career, I went to the good side of the part. I went to be side of people and environment after my master 35 years ago in University of Tehran. And just before coming, I saw this on the LinkedIn. See what happened about 20 years ago, 25 children in Peru, they were killed just before getting to the door of the class, and 25 more are still paralyzed. And did you hear about the Bihar, India, 3 years ago? Again. And I'm sure that you heard about Bhopal, India. So it's all happening and happening. And I saw this before just coming. Agrochemicals market is going to get at 2018 $242 billion. Today pesticides are about $60 billion. $60 billion market. These are children of Bihar. Again, 20 of them killed very, about 3 years ago. And I was crying really. And this is happening. In Iran, only from the rice tablet, phostoxin, we get 700 people killed by rice tablet every year. And with paraquat, see, we have about 55 only last year. It's really happening again and again. And this is the problem of really pesticide and toxics. I started this, my more work 15 years ago in kind of civil society to help the world about the, I'm doing really now in a level of globally following that. And we have more problem really in developing countries. We have more because there is no regulation. And if there is, in many of Middle Eastern countries, there is regulation written, but never enforced. Even you go there, and there is enforcement is a myth, nothing. And I'm very worried about that really. They are destroying, our bees are getting getting to extinction because of neonicotinoids, a group of pesticide that, and the interesting is that the regulation in US and Western countries is good. They are really good, and we always learn from EPA and that there. But it stops on the border. When it comes to, Asian countries, no regulation really. And China and India in Asia, they are big producers of pesticides. And big markets and obsolete pesticides, very, very big problems. We have more toxic exposure in Asian countries. Yeah, we have really more exposure, less NGO activity because of rice, because of different things and geogenic and anthropogenic activities. We have more exposure and more medical geology problem like arsenic and iodine and that, lead, cadmium. So in Asian, and this is what it was in my Facebook. It's some months that is because of the, they closed it, but we go there. We are okay. We are very, very worried about the cumulative exposure. Getting different kinds from morning for the people and all our cumulative exposure and synergism. That's what happened really. And we have, I'm going to later this year in Singapore talk about the biocides. Biocides are the big problem. Every day washing detergent and these things, every day we are facing with that. The big problem of mercury and methyl mercury now in Asia, that's a big problem. And in water is worst. Iran, and I am going to now point to some, this is that I climbed 15 years ago. It's a Damavand. This is Ramsar, where the wetlands started, convention on wetlands. This is a beautiful city. And this is around this city that all those paddy rice waters are situated. Siberian crane in the north of Iran, that's a big, there are many of these things that now there are. This is some years ago, see, I think now it will be this picture all around it, This is the situation of Caspian Sea. 3 months ago, our 13th Congress of Toxicology was on the Lake Urmia. It was an international congress. See, this is Lake Urmia. It's getting really dried, and now nothing left of it. And this is a big, dam near Tehran. Tehran is in water crisis. And this picture, we were there about 2 months ago. less than 2 months ago. And it's getting really, the water line was here. And now, this is the Lar Dam. This is in the middle of Iran. It's a salt marsh, again. This is the cheetah that is getting extinct and some left. Persian Gulf, this is the wetlands of Persian Gulf that I have a project there now. And Qeshmai land, they are all under threat. And what I started to work as this is cooperation between Japan and Iran for Anzali. And this is the situation in other countries of Asia. And about cyanobacterial that I was very worried, and there was good talks, very good talks this today, and I'm not going to go through that. And then these are about all alternative, and only about this. Please let me only show this, that this is the Nimwort. I planted this tree 15 years ago. This is one of the best substituted alternatives. We are going to put away pesticide, conventional pesticide. Neem tree, I'm planting neem tree in the Persian Gulf. This is Sri Island in the Persian Gulf. And we are planting neem, and we need help. And this is very important tree with lots of natural, and this is Persian lost powder that Persians were making lost powder 2,000 years ago and exporting to the world, but not today. This is, again, okay. Yeah, it went back. We need more green movements in Asia, and rich regulation. Europe is going very good to curb, to control the toxics by rich regulation. I'm following the rich, really. And I'm trying to make an implication for developing countries from rich. They are going better than all other nations. US and Canada, they made most toxics. Australia is after Europe, and then after that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.